Hello wine lovers and the wine curious. Today we are getting into some undervalued wines. Listen, this is not about price, but at every price point it's important to know that there are undervalued, delicious, artful gems that are really delicious and amazing. They might even be the flavor that you're looking for. So on today's 10-minute tasting, we are going to be getting into some wines I thought you ought to know. This is the Conundrum White from California, and this is a wine with a great story behind it. It all started at the dinner table when Charlie Wiognier Sr., the co-founder of Caymus Vineyards, was sitting with his wife Lorna and son Chuck, and they were blending together in the glass different wines to create a perfect pairing for their meals. This resulted in the Conundrum series. This is the white wine that started it. There's also a red wine counterpart too. It's a blend done with mainly Sauvignon Blanc, but there is a little bit of Chardonnay, Semillon, and Viognier in there. So let's give it a taste. First, by the color alone, I can tell that it's a little bit more of a sunnier style. There's more of like a golden green flecked straw tone. On the nose, this is quite tropical, beautiful apricot notes, green pineapple and mango. But you also have some Meyer lemon in there, grassy notes too. And just these touches of florality that I can tell are coming from that Viognier. Let's get onto the palate. On the palate, this wine is so textural, but it has a really dry finish. I know that overall, this wine has about 2 grams per liter of sugar for the bottle. And it's awesome because you get this nice sunny texture wine, but a nice smooth, clean, crisp finish. This is going to be great with a myriad of different foods, something spicy. I like burrito bowls, they'll go great with that. Thai food, you can even get into some seafood with it, or even some seasonal fare as well. This would be great with chicken. Let's get on to our next wine. Our next wine, we're moving into a lighter red with the 13th Street Winery 2021 Gamay Noir from Ontario. 13th Street Winery is an award-winning winery really focused on showcasing the terroir of the Niagara Peninsula, and they do a great job with Gamay Noir. Gamay Noir is a grape that's often overlooked. You know, when you think about the Old World and New World wine regions of the world and the grapes that come from them, they're often Old World grapes that have New World homes that showcase amazing terroir and great expressions in the glass. Think Cabernet Sauvignon from Bordeaux and how well it does in Napa. Now, there's no official New World home for Gamay Noir, but I do argue that it should be the Niagara Peninsula because this is a region that does great with this grape. Let's get into it and I'll tell you all about it. First off, we have some beautiful ruby tones. It's lighter. I could see my hand right through the glass. For aromas, there's cherry and peonies in here. A little bit of dark pepper. You also get some wonderful mineral notes too. And when I talk about mineral notes, what I mean to say is it's not earthy, but it's rocky and it has this non-organic aspect to it. Let's get on to the palate. Every time I take a taste, I really want to swirl it around my entire palate. And what I notice with this is how much I'm salivating. Great level of acidity in this wine. There's a little bit of tannins. Do they just tingle across the palate? But what you do get is an amazing, amazing lengthy finish. And that is the quality wine that we're looking for. That great finish, that's how we know it's a great one. This is the Besti Mare flavours by Domaine Lafrage from Roussillon, France. Now, this is a really interesting winery with a story behind it. They have been making wine since the late 1700s, starting as wine growers passing down from father to son for the last 2 centuries. Located in the south of France in Roussillon, the winery is in a 15th century Catalan villa and it just overlooks the Mediterranean. It's so beautiful and the wines really do reflect that. They're made by Jean-Marc and Hélène Lafrage and they are such ambassadors for the region. Clearly, I can't stop saying enough good things about this wine, so we have to get into it to see what it tastes like too. This is quite a dark wine. Even when I hold it over my hand, I can barely see my hand through it. It's really more of like a ruby, almost purple hued wine. And this makes sense because it's a blend of 70% Syrah and 30% Grenache. Syrah is really giving those purple hues. Let's get into the aromas. You know, when the wine making of a wine comes together with the aromas, I love that oh so much. This is done in demi-moudi and concrete tanks. And what that means to me is I kind of get this like softness coming from the glass. There's beautiful pepper notes and blueberries, little bit of violet flowers in here too, a soft meatiness as well, but you also get this almost touches of garrigue, almost like these touches of green herbal spices too. Let's get onto the palate. This is a bold wine. This is a very bold wine because I'm already feeling like my temple's getting a little bit warm. That's how you can always tell alcohol. Sitting at about 14%, but it's not feeling like it's at 14%. You get some wonderful brightness from that acidity, beautiful texture on the palate, and a nice spice leading finish. This is a wine that's meant for food, and it's meant for the season too. Next up, we have the Killermans Wines Killermans Run Shiraz from the Clare Valley in South Australia. Now, this is a Shiraz wine. Remember how I was saying before that there is a new world home for old world grapes? Well, for Syrah, it is called Shiraz in Australia, and that is its new world home. South Australia is absolutely amazing for it. And with Killermans, we are really focusing on the Clare Valley. They are obsessed with this region. The winery was started by Kevin Mitchell and his father Mort, and they really dove into creating microclimate focused, block by block, vineyard by vineyard wines. The Killermans Run Shiraz is really at the entry level of what their wines are showcasing. And I really want to focus on this because you might not hear about Clare Valley as much as you should, which for me makes it a little bit more underknown. Now let's get into this wine. It's 100% Shiraz. When I tilt it over, I cannot see my hand through this at all, and it's much more purple toned. Shiraz or Syrah in the Rhone is always showcasing as a purple toned wine in the glass. Into the aromas, this has wonderful plummy notes. There's a little bit of French oak aging on this as well, so I'm getting more of like toasted mocha, almost like tiramisu vibes. But there's blueberries, almost like potpourri style purple flowers, and mulberries as well. Like we're really pushing into the fruitier side of things. Let's get on to the palate. On the palate, we're going for texture. While there's some wonderful tannins just gliding across the tongue, they're really kind of building up, really connecting everything across the mouth. There's some brightness in the finish, but it's not determined by its acidity. You really get a lot of structure in this wine. And wow, if this is the entrance to everything that they're doing, there's so much more to come for them. This is the Small Gullies, the Formula Robert Shiraz from South Australia. We are staying within the country, but this Shiraz is a total different flip from the last one. So we're looking at a totally different side of winemaking. While Small Gully is located in Barossa, this wine is coming from the Adelaide Plains. And you can tell it's a formula, right? So they have a formula for success behind this wine. So you add in 3 passionate wine partners, 50-plus-year-old vines, estate vineyards, and then you multiply that by a really good focus on quality, and that's what they're hoping that you get in the glass. While the winery is in Barossa, the Adelaide Plains are a lot more closer to the seaside, so we're going to be getting some really interesting tasting notes in the glass that I'm clearly very excited for. All right, let's start with the way that this wine looks. This is such a bold wine. It's still quite dark. I cannot see my hand through it at all, but what I get on this is much more of the staining. Right away, I start to see these red, almost ruby-toned colors coming down. And while this is a Shiraz and it should be more purple hued, because it's coming from older vines, that can really showcase a different coloring in the glass as well. All right, let's get into the aromas. Wow, this is amazing. So it's so close to the seaside. I do get some salinity in there. At the same time, there are this like woody, earthy notes mixed in with the meatiness. There's purple flowers, You get these berry notes, but they're very harmonic. The hard thing about a wine coming from an older vineyard is that it really does produce such harmony. It's hard to pick out everything right away. But let's get on to the palate. Okay, on the palate with my retronasal senses, we are getting into all of the fruit flavors a little bit more. Plummy notes are coming out, mulberry, they're really kind of depositing themselves back there. And while Shiraz is known for having some quite high tannins, this is really mixing together with the acidity and just the confidence of the old vines to create something that's silky and smooth and just easy to love in the finish. This is a steak wine, it's meant for meats. It's a cooler time of year, so why not get into that as well? This has been our 10-minute tasting on undervalued wines that you need to know. I really want to stress that undervalued can mean so many different things because all of these wines are great communicators of terroir. They're absolutely delicious and they pair with so many different things. If you've tried them before, I'm so happy about that because it means that you're getting into these regions as well and we're on the same page together. And if it might be your first time hearing about them, I would love to hear what you think about all of these different wines. You can find out where to get them right down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.